Excellent. Excellent.
So,
Natasha, good to see you. Good to see everyone.
good to see you, Natasha. Good to see Konstantin. We are live finally. We're trying like this new
Good to
platform.
see you too.
So, from a long time ago, we are starting to make like a chit chat, a little bit of dialogue. There is some, let's say, some news from both sides. Let's say from US, from Europe, and today we have like these two friends, like Natasha from Peter and Konstantin from let's say Central Asia. So and me from Italy, and the idea of today it's like to discuss a little bit of the situation with some updates, European point of view, everything that happened after the Trump inauguration, and let's see what will happen also about
There is something. I'm sorry, I don't hear you well. Like your sound disappearing. Is it just for me?
I don't know. Do you hear me now? I can hear you perfectly.
I can hear everything fine.
Okay. So maybe it's VPN, Natasha, that cut a little bit. So let's try.
Are we on YouTube live right now? Or
yeah, we are on YouTube. We're on YouTube. And now, Natasha, can you hear me? Natasha, just to check if you can hear me. Okay, let me try it with another mic. Okay. No, my sound was good also on YouTube.
It's lagging for me. However, I have YouTube here, but I can hear you on YouTube, but I don't hear you on my phone.
I can hear everything
now.
well.
Okay, perfect. So let's try now with this mic. And okay,
maybe it's because of VPN that I use. I don't know, or it's something with the app.
My sound was good also on YouTube. No, I can hear you. Let's try. Okay, from the last time that we met, a lot of things changes. I tried to make a little bit of updates, and the interesting thing about the Trump inauguration from, let's say, Italian point of view is that there was only, let's say, one that was invited from South America, that was Milei, and one from Europe, that was Meloni from Italy. And so it's a little bit strange in our point of view because it was more a personal invitation than a formal invitation of some representative of European Union, and it's a little bit like a forecast of what will happen in the next months. Maybe the position of US will be a little bit more bilateral relationship between US and the single states instead of, for example, the Joe Biden foreign policy that was trying to treat directly with European Union. This is like the strict signal that we had, like let's say from Italy in the last inauguration of Trump. The other thing that I wanted to put like to the audience is that the discussion about the import-export taxation from US, it's very interesting, especially for European Union countries, but for Italy a lot. So we are talking about a probably cut of 11 billion of export material, grana, wine, whatever. And this is why this special relationship, it's a little bit complicated to understand. Because it could be a good thing for Italy, but a bad thing, for example, for the relationship between European Union and US. And I don't know what you had from like the first 2 days, but I think it's already, if I check the clock, it's already 24 hours from the inauguration of Trump presidency, and the war in Ukraine is still not finished. So at least Kostantin, the first result that was like given by Trump, it's already not achieved. But let's see. What do you think?
It was my mantra. It was my mantra for the past couple months. I said, look, don't ask me anything about Trump. I don't know what he's going to do. I don't know how he's going to act. I know one thing. He promised everyone he will stop the war in Ukraine in 24 hours. Now I'm waiting for that. Well, it's been 24 hours, more than that. So in Russia, we have a word for people who make promises and give promises and don't deliver them. This word is chipushila. That's all I can say. It's black and white. You either keep your promise or you don't. Well, that's all I have to say.
Natasha, what was like your I don't know, impression about the inauguration? Something that let's say give you I don't know, something that was unexpected, or everything was expected by Trump? Natasha
is lagging. Sound is lagging, I think. Hey, while Natasha is trying to figure out sound, I want to, I think that this is a question for me. It says Trump promised a lot of things. Did you really think he'd finish the war? I don't know.
I don't know.
He promised.
Actually, I don't know what to say. It's his second term. Why are you expecting him to change? I mean, he was blubbering before a lot, and can you hear me?
We can hear you now perfectly well.
We can hear you.
I don't know.
He promised. Actually, I don't know what to say.
Yes, we can hear you fine.
There is huge delay in sound. I think that's what I was talking about. I don't hear you well.
Mm-hmm. That's bad. Too bad. What can we do? Let's try to figure something out.
There's just delay. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe because of VPN. Because right now YouTube doesn't work in Russia, so we have to use things to be accessible to the rest of the world. I was saying that I wasn't expecting something different from Trump. He always promises a lot of things and rarely keeps his promises. So nothing new here.
Okay, point taken. That's.
No, it's Konstantin. Like let's say. From my point of view, it's very interesting because there is a lot of, let's say, strange information that we're receiving, especially of what is happening from yesterday. For example, it's only rumors from, let's say, Russian channel, like the ammunitions are stopped, the transfer to Ukraine or whatever. But in my opinion, let's say nothing is changing very fast. There was like some rumors from US that it was given to the advisor of Trump in Ukraine 100 days to stop or to find a solution for Ukraine. But as I read and recheck everything that is about, let's say, the Russian point of view, time from the Russian point of view is on the side of Russia. So there is no any type of advantage to close it shortly. So I'm saying it from the Russian point of view. Ukraine also think the same, because Ukraine is thinking that like an economical collapse could happen. And so if we maintain like the strategy of internal attacks or whatever, but everything, another thing that is important, that maybe nobody was talking about. Yesterday, there was an intervention of Marco Rubio that said very strongly that US is not giving up about NATO, and the position of US is there inside NATO. So it's very strange what is said and what is happening, because everything is not super connected in between.
My point of view is not much will change. Okay, and I have been asked quite a few times recently what I thought Trump would do, how I thought he would act, and things like that. And my answer is always this: I don't know. And no one knows, including Donald Trump. He doesn't know himself. He's very unpredictable, and he's always spontaneous. So it doesn't make any sense to make forecasts or predictions. So he promised to stop the war in Ukraine in 24 hours. Now he's saying, oh, we should try real hard to stop it in 100 days. But, once you lie once, what makes you think you're not going to lie a second time, I think the United States current presidency is not about really politics, but it's about egos, and it's about different things that I don't quite understand. I'm not an expert on the US politics, but I'm just seeing a lot of people acting irrationally, acting intoxicated, figuratively speaking, acting as if they just got into a power and they're just having a good time. Okay. And I think that's pretty much the tone of this presidency will be. Obviously, Donald Trump is not going to run for the second term, for the next term, because he's too old. He will be 84, 82 once he finishes his first term. And then he's not going to be most likely physically capable, fit to become the president. So he is playing like there's no tomorrow. He can say anything he wants. He can offend anything he wants. He can anyone he wants. He can just break any relationship the United States has with partners, with friends, with opponents. He doesn't care, and it goes well with his personality. He's feeding his ego, and what he's going to do, I don't really know, but I also know that it's really hard. The U.S. president doesn't have absolute power concentrated in his hands. There's a system of political checks and balances, and it's going to be real hard for him to get real results. For example, just so you understand, he signed this presidential decree of changing the 14th Amendment of the Constitution, American Constitution, where people who are born on the U.S. soil, they do not get citizenship by default. This is a joke. He has no power to propose an amendment to the Senate. Only a senator can do that, okay? So a senator can do that at the request of the president, and then 3/4 of Senate must approve it, then the 3/4 of the Congress, 3/4 of the states, all U.S. states, for this amendment to go into force, okay? And if he really is set on changing it, he should have done it differently. He should have made a request to one of the senators, and the senator would act on his behalf. Just to show you that it's a PR stunt. Everyone is talking about that. All America is talking about that. People in Russia are talking about that. He's brilliant at doing PR stunts, and that's what he's going to be doing, okay? As of for real results, I don't think much will be changed, and he doesn't have power to change many things, okay? They have to go through Congress, through multiple approvals. They can be challenged in U.S. courts and so forth. So that's what I think. It's going to be a show for the next 4 years. And what it'll be, we don't know. As for Ukraine, again, it's really hard to say whether the support will stop or not. I think it will not, but again, that's my personal opinion. It's really not up to me to throw it up in the air. What I know for sure, absolutely positive about that. I've been watching Russia and Russian economy for 3 years, and this is my area of expertise. I'm an economist. Russia cannot sustain to go like this for much longer. It has, my estimation, from 4 to 6 months left in terms of it's run out of resources. It doesn't have any money left. It doesn't have an ability to borrow money. It doesn't have people left who are ready to go fight. It doesn't have, its military industrial complex is slowing down the production. Things cannot continue at the pace they've been going for past 3 years for Russia. And I know that Russia, well, Putin really needs to get a break. Either ceasefire or peace. The war must be stopped. It's a matter of survival. And the longer the war goes on, the more difficult it becomes for Russia. And I really would like to hear Natasha's opinion, because, we spoke 2 years ago on the state of Russian economy, and we actually planned on making a video together. Never happened, well, that's okay. But I want to hear her side, what's going on the inside, how she sees with her own eyes the changes. Because what I'm seeing is Russia is done. It's just a matter of months. It's going to be a biggest economic turmoil the country has ever seen in its history. It's going to be worse than 1991, okay? I'm betting my professional expertise on that. Okay, not expertise, but professional reputation. So I think things are not going to be well. So this is what I think. And I think that Russia can say, well, first of all, you say Russia, it's Russian propaganda. Okay, very few people are talking the real things in Russia. Mostly we hear propaganda through different channels, and they're saying, oh, Russia is strong and is ready to keep on going the war and all of that. No. And there are clear signs of that. Record low unemployment, rising inflation, interest rate is through the roof, record bankruptcies, business bankruptcies, record personal loan defaults. Banks are under pressure. The most likely will be a full-blown banking crisis in 2025 in Russia. And industry is collapsing. The coal industry has already collapsed, okay? There are people who are not paid by months, and that's going to just expand the situation, okay? So I think that the change will come from inside Russia, and I've been saying that for the past 2 years. And I would like to hear Natasha's take on that.
Let's see if Natasha, can you answer? Are you able to listen us?
There's probably a lag going on.
Yeah. But let's see.
Yeah, sorry. We have really huge delay. We have problems with sound.
Can you answer? Are you able to?
So, I think that the
Can you hear
will
me?
come from inside. We can hear you well. Yes. Probably a lag going on.
Yeah. But let's see.
Yeah, sorry. We have really. Let me maybe to reconnect, because I listen to you on YouTube. I can't listen here. I don't hear you on the app.
Okay. Perfect. Let's try to wait here.
Just time. As we're waiting, let me tell you a short story. I was given an interview to a very big radio station in the United States, or big channels, like syndicated show, and a guy contacted me, and we started preparing 10 minutes before the show. And all of a sudden I hear someone saying, sound is okay, sound check, fine, you know. And then I see another guy saying, picture is fine. And another guy is saying, Konstantin, okay, this and that. I'm like, wait a second, where's the host? He goes, oh, host will show up 2 minutes before the show. And I said, who are you? He goes, I'm the manager. I'm making everything happen. And we have a sound guy, and we have like makeup guy, and we have this guy, and the video guy. And the host comes in and goes, hey, Konstantin, watching your show, blah, blah. And it says, well, my team is here. Where's your team? And I'm sitting here, I'm like, right here, me, myself, and Konstantin, it's my team. And he was like, what? You don't have a team? So things happen all the time because we are all in sound and video and, and all this production. And so I understand. So
let's try, Natasha.
Hello.
Natasha. Now it's perfect.
Can you hear us? Can you hear us?
I can hear you. It's better. I reconnected to Latvia, so maybe it's gonna be faster since it's
nice.
Latvia
is excellent. I like Latvia a lot. You know, Latvia is always good.
It's close by. So yeah, probably there was delay because it was connected to the US. Anyway, so we were talking about the economic collapse of Russia. I can't tell you, I don't work in central bank to tell you like exactly what's gonna happen in a year. I also just only read prediction and hear from people. What I see around, I think there's still...
yeah, I can promise you.
I mean, you asked my opinion. I'm just telling you, like, I'm not professional economist to tell you, but I just live here throughout these years, and I can see how everything is moving, right? And when last time we spoke, I told you, yeah, like it's gonna be worse and worse by time. That's definitely, but it's getting slowly enough so people will not go to street to protest. In order for them to move to streets to be angry and ask for change of government, their living level must drop like fast, insanely fast. Like they wake up in the morning like how it was in the 90s, and I don't know, butter cost like not 2 rubles, but I don't know, like 200 rubles or 2000 rubles, whatever. But this is not happening. Like they do it slowly. Like I can tell you that yes, prices are increasing. Everyone sees this. Services are deteriorating. Like I've just had fire in my apartment recently, and it's basically related to all of this because they do not maintain the infrastructure is collapsing slowly. It's true also as well. Everyone knows this, not only because there's not enough people, but also because there's not enough materials. All this kind of things. So it's visible, of course, but not enough for people to protest, or not enough for change, at least for now. That's what I see. I don't know what's going to happen during this 1 year. Like if Trump is going to do a deal with Putin for real somehow, I don't know, and they're going to stop this war. I guess we will see. It's really hard to predict, but I don't think that actually Trump will be able to do this.
Konstantin, if I can say one thing to you both, Natasha, for example, the last time that we were talking about, we were analyzing the data about inflation and shrinkflation. Wait a second. Just to compare what we said like 1 year ago, the changes that it was like in, let's say, end of 2023, the data that it's completely out of the, let's say, out of the square, it's about like the interest rate that was 7.5 and now it's about 21. What I'm reading a lot of economical analysis is that also Nabulina that was thinking that increasing the interest rate was trying to do the same what the European Central Bank was trying to reduce the real inflation. Didn't work in Russia. So now they are maintaining this 21, but the real inflation, it's very, let's say, it's much higher than the data that is communicated by the Russian central bank. And by, let's say, someone that have no, let's say, a new buy in economics, it's very easy when you have like a war economy to reduce like the real inflation, because the majority of the goods that you are producing, it's with state price. Let's say one tank, the price of the tank is given by the state, so it's not, let's say, increasing. And also the missile, whatever, if it's produced by the state. What we have in Europe, for example, I can say you what is happening in Italy. We had for sure inflation that was very high 2022, 2023, but in the last year it was going down a lot. So if we compare the increment of the, let's say, the European Central Bank interest rate, now it's about let's say 3.4. If we compare like to the 21% of Russia, and the real inflation, I think in Italy the last data was less than 3%. So it's mainly the same interest rate and inflation. It happened like it was in Russia about the butter, Natasha, if you remember that we watched about the grams of the butter in supermarket. It was reduced. It happened the same inflation also in Italy, but I was also in Colombia 3 weeks ago. It happened the same, for example, with the beer. They're reducing the quantity in the beer. So you find a lot of 33 centiliter instead of half a liter. Before last year, it never happened in South America. So it's something that is working worldwide to fakely reduce the inflation with reducing the quantity of the materials. But as I can say to you, what happened in Europe, it's that now that you are completely switched off from Russia about import, the price of the energy products didn't rise. If you check the real price, they didn't rise. So gas, it's the same level of the end of 2021, maybe less. The price of, for example, gasoline, now it's about in Italy that it's pretty high. It's 1.7 for liter. And but at the peak of the beginning of the war was over €2. So everything is like stabilized completely as it was before December 2021. I don't see the same in Russia. This is like to make the compare. I don't see this stabilization after what happened. So your opinion, any idea? Also, Kostantin, that is, I don't know, in Central Asia, if you have.
Well, in Central Asia, it's completely different. There's inflation, it's low, and prices are slowly rising, but you know, a couple percent per year, not much. So business as usual. Russia is a completely different story. I would like to hear Natasha's opinion, because that's the most interesting, because that's the person living in Russia, goes to stores, lives life, and what's going on? Tell us.
Oh, sorry. Алло.
Yes.
Алло.
We can hear you.
Блин.
It must be something with the settings, Natasha.
Что такое? Can you hear me?
It's not the VPN. We can hear you. It's not VPN. It's the settings of the software.
No.
Go
We
to
can
the
hear you,
icon with the microphone.
It is.
And
It's just.
Can you hear us?
No. It's. I'm just sitting on my phone and I've got phone call. That's the problem. So it disconnected me. Anyway, just a
That
second.
happens. It happens.
Let me try focus mode. So yeah, prices, as I said, are increasing, of course, and increasing dramatically on some products, especially on medicine. Like medicine is becoming insanely expensive comparing to how it was 2 years ago, and gas is becoming expensive, which is very interesting that it didn't increase in Italy, but it did increase here like twice. I think we pay right now than what we used to pay last year. I didn't check price for oil, so I need to go actually and check. I don't drive cars, so it doesn't. I mean, I don't pay personally, so I don't know. But if I spent like 1,500 rubles last year for my like one time go to shop, right now I spent like 2,000 rubles and more just to buy like basic stuff. So the increase is visible so much.
Let me give you my take.
Not only on products, by
people-
the way, you can see increase on services. Like if you, in my case, I check prices for doctors because all of us, like my dad is very sick, right? And I know the increase is insane because I used to pay for doctor, like for him, for example, I don't know, 1,500 rubles. Right now, prices might reach 10,000 rubles per consultation, and it's just mind blowing.
Because a lot of doctors from Russia are in Tashkent, in Almaty, in Astana working. They don't need to get licensed here. The other states, other countries just take them and they welcome Russian doctors. The good ones are all here. That's why. Well, anyway, I understand this general picture, what you're painting, and I agree with it. Moreover, I've been monitoring it. Stefano, we talked not in 23, in 22, in late 22. So it's been 2 years. And so that's been quite a long time. And it's a good term for economy to actually switch gears. I see a lot of people making one mistake over and over again. And that is they talk of the Russian economy as of market economy. And that is not the case. You're talking about Italy, and Italian economy is following market rules, okay? Obviously, you do not have much increase in price of gas, fuel, and so forth, because there was a spike when the war started, because there was panic in the room and all supply chains were broken, okay? But that's how businesses work. There's a demand, and the businesses started looking for a way to go around and recover, and they did, and it's taken quite some time, 18 months, but now things are back to normal. It's not like there's not enough natural gas without Russia, or there's not enough oil. Russia is a speck. It's just how you get that gas, how you get that oil. That's what it's all about, and it's taken quite some time. And Europe has been able to secure the supplies, and now your price is back to normal. But then what Natasha is saying is a perfect example how Russia does not have market economy, because in Russia, the price of natural gas have gone up a few times. Not by 200%, but by 15%, but a few times, okay? And that's not market decision. That's a political decision, because Russian government relies, not even government, some people, rulers of Russia, they make money from extracting and selling Russian gas. And they have lost a huge market, Europe and pretty much everything else. And they need to somehow make up the losses. How do you do that? You charge the domestic prices more. You do in any way possible. And the Russian people are all hostages of this, policy. Not even policy, of this, lowliness, I would say. Russian central bank does not follow the rule of free markets, okay? It follows orders from the Tsar. That's all. They don't care about the state of Russian economy. They care Nabiullina and her deputies care about staying in their positions for as long as possible. because there's only one guy who decides, and that is the Tsar. They answer to the Tsar. Okay, they're not judged by how well economy works. Their KPI is different. They must obey the orders. As long as they do that, they are in business. They are in their places. And if they don't, they get fired. They get thrown out of the system. And that is for, big politicians is pretty much death. Same thing. And all Russian agencies work in the very same way. They take orders from the very top. And this is a tragedy for Russian people. Because if you don't have market economy, you're not going to live well. The only normal economic system is free market economy. Okay, free markets, they provide for fairness. And in Russia, it's lacking. Okay, well, perhaps there's some free markets left at the lower level, small services provided and small shops and things like that. But large corporations, military industrial complex, the state companies who own, not own, but extract, process, and sell natural resources, that's all state controlled. Okay. And you cannot compare Russia and Italy, Stefano, because you can't compare water and oil. They don't mix. We must compare apples to apples, oranges to oranges. And a lot of people making this mistake, they try to compare Russia to other countries, apples to oranges. Okay, that's it. Russia, analyze and judge it as if it's a world of its own. Okay.
Konstantin, only just to give one data to you and Natasha, just to compare, like on peak, it was like the beginning, just the first month after the beginning of the war, the cost of 1 liter of gasoline in Italy was €2. It's in dollar, but it's the same. Let's say €2.26. Now it's 1.90. The average, so it's like minus 16%, but the real, let's say, cost, for example, for the user, it's about 1.7. For you to get like the size of the increase that it was from before, like it was not possible to fill a tank of 55 liters with the limit of the card. So normally in Italy, you have like €100 of like pre-accreditation of a bank when you use like a debit card. So it was not possible to fill a tank of a car with like the pre-accreditation. It was first time that happened in history. Like for me, for example, for a regular car, not a big car. And now let's say what is happening in the market changed completely. And for me, as I said to you, Konstantin, by the last 3 years, it's technically a little bit a suicide for like the Russian exporter, because Italy was like importing 40% of gas from Russia, Germany 60%. Now it's like 0%. It was coming like from South Stream and to Tarvisio, also from Brotherhood to like from Ukraine. And before we had only 2 regasificator. Now we have 4, and we are discussing about 5. It was not full capacity of the tap from Baku. Now, like the first supplier of Italy, it's, for example, Algeria, Libya, and Azerbaijan. And what is happening? It's like that the energy supplier of Europe, it's strange, but it's becoming like Caspian Sea and Africa instead of Russia, because the gas is going from south to north and not from east to west.
Why are you surprised? Why is this amazing? What surprises you?
No, it surprises to me that we made the calculation of everything that happened after 2022. Let's say, didn't make the calculation that if it's getting longer, you will lose all the good clients. Let's say like this. If my economy, it's as we say, the other things that it changed from 15th of January, it's like the direct sanction of US to the shadow fleet. But I think from now it's changing completely, because Russia will not be able to sell gas or oil, not to us but to India and China. So
That's right. That's right.
it's about I made the it was about 73 billion about like selling. So as you said before, like the capacity of financing the war, that is very expensive. If you cut also this last, let's say, safe mode, it could be very, very complicated to go on.
I will give you a take from a little different angle. Russia lost a lot of revenues. Basically, historically, Russia had two bread making revenues, two bread makers. That's natural gas and oil. 46% of federal budget was coming from natural gas and oil. Now Russia is very close to losing it all completely. Well, very little left. It's not the biggest problem now for Russia. It hasn't been in the past couple of years, because it was still making not as much as before, but it was still making. The problem is it still was not enough to finance the war. It was still in the red numbers. But Russia had a savings account. It had accumulated so much money in the previous couple decades from, natural gas and oil revenues, that it had savings account. And it was using the savings account to basically, keep things going in the country. Well, there's one problem. There's no money left. Zero. It is dry. Okay. And this where the problem starts right now, because you don't have savings left. You don't have oil exports. You don't have gas exports. You are screwed. And I meant a different word, F, So this is where Russians are going to wake up to the biggest demise, because this is it. This is it. Natasha, I know you were a little skeptical. Okay, you're laughing, but let's come back in 12 months. See what I usually do. Look, what I usually do, I come up with a set of predictions, usually 10. And then I do it first thing in January, okay? And then the last day of the year, I take my predictions and I compare. And I make a live stream about that. For 2024, 8 out of 10 came true, what I said. You can look it up. It's, I take my video and I play it again and I comment it, okay? So I am predicting a very hard time. Situation much worse than 23, definitely much worse than 24. Because I'm an economist. I'm seeing this science, okay? There are the two biggest problems. There's no more money coming in. And Stefano, you're absolutely right. The shadow fleet is getting shut down. Right now, there are a few tankers off the coast of China. They are at sea. They don't have place to go because China is not accepting them, and no one is touching the oil. They probably can sell it, but at the discount so big that it doesn't make any sense to export oil, And the same thing, the Indians have shut off the importing of Russian oil. Russia is not supplying any gas through Ukraine to Europe any longer. Europe is doing fine. Like you said, the prices are on the same level. And that's because of market economy. The European companies have managed to get a different supply. Tell you what, it's going to get even better for Europe, because soon you will be getting lots of gas through Nabucco. Have you heard of Nabucco pipeline?
Yeah,
the
Konstantin,
largest reserves.
But imagine that this, I think, also the situation that is like configuring in the Middle East. I think it will not benefit at all Russia, because when I think if like Trump has a priority, it's Israel, it's not Ukraine. And
what will not benefit? Can you please specify? I didn't get it.
No, what I'm saying is that because there is like the biggest field that was discovered like in the last decade, it was like south of Cyprus. and it's that one. But Nabucco, it's like the pipe, but the idea that
Qatar,
where
Kuwait, and Iran. That's Nabucco. That's the largest reserve of the gas anywhere. It's
no. Okay,
Qatar.
but let's say Qatar, we are already importing. What I'm saying to you is that instead of going to Qatar, now like the big, let's say Total, Eni or whatever, Italy, France, also British Petroleum are investing like in find the fields that were already in Mediterranean Sea. So there is this big, let's say, field that is south of Cyprus, and it's like it could be benefited the economy of Lebanon, Israel, Egypt, and Cyprus. It was like, let's say, put in an angle because it was easier to import from Russia. But now imagine what could be like an investment without the pipe, because we already have the infrastructure of LNG. So you have only to take out and bring whatever you want, and it's not from Qatar. It's like, I don't know, a few hours of shipping to Italy. This is why, I think it's a little bit a midterm suicide, let's say, strategy, because if the war is not finishing and the sanctions are not lifted, however you like erased any connection to the other markets. The first thing that I was listened from, now I lost the Simonian. In the first year of the war, it was that if we can, let's say, froze Europe, and they, let's say, if you remember when there was like this commercial for Christmas, Kostantin, when like Europe was freezing with rats.
I
blah,
used
blah,
it
blah.
many times in my live streams. I still
Okay.
remind the Russians, hey, check this out. You know,
So,
don't forget, it's going to be a tough winter.
I still remember, if Europe will freeze, they will lift the sanction. The strategy didn't pay because in an opposite way, like the states find other suppliers, but before they didn't check because it was easier for buy from Russia, and Russia was benefiting also the economy for the Russians.
Stefano, nothing has worked out. Nothing. Not the economy, not the military. Whatever they tried to do, I don't really know who was planning, or they were planning anything at all, because I don't know. Nothing has worked out. Again, you're talking about Simonian, and this is talking head people. They don't make any decisions. It's pure PR. I mean, the decision was to cut off gas to Russia. Well, anyway, I'm not gonna go. I've pretty much said everything I think about what's coming in 2025. Natasha, I would like to tell you my. Let's remember that, to tell you my general prognosis forecast for Russia. At this point, I think that Russians will not rise up and go protest. It will not happen, even if they're going to be starving and dying. It will not happen. Okay, I think it's not in the picture at all. So I absolutely agree with you. They will not protest. The change will not come from Russian people. At this point, I have very low expectations for them, judging for how they have behaved in the last 3 years. What's going to happen is, has been slow, but now it's going to be increasing economic decline. More and more. How it's going to happen? Prices will become lower, higher and higher, because inflation is. They've turned on printing press. They don't have any source of source of revenues, so they're not making any money. So they're just spending, and they started printing money basically. Okay, they started on November 26. So far, 4 trillion rubles have been printed. They call it a fancy process of repo aukcioni, and it's digital ruble and so forth. But basically, they're just printing rubles, and that's going to fire up inflation even more. the prices will go higher and higher. The salaries will not be catching up with inflation. And it means one thing, it'll be harder and harder for regular people. Okay, it's just like an anecdote. A dad comes back home from the store, and his wife and son await him. And then he comes back and he complains. He says, you know what, I just checked out, the price for vodka has gone up. And the son asks, well, Daddy, does it mean that you're going to drink less vodka? He goes, no, son, it just means that you're going to eat less. And that's exactly what will happen. Russians will eat less. And that's it. It's going to be a fairly slow economic decline. And
it's already
this is my
happening.
forecast. You see, so far, you have not seen anything yet. It's been slow. Now it's going to get worse and faster. Okay, that's 2025 for you. This is my one general forecast for what's going to happen in Russia. And then if the war stops, nothing's going to change. Economy is still going to decline.
Yeah, we're going to see very soon, I guess. I just can't agree regarding market economy with you. Like, it's still, what's the opposite to market economy? Is this planned economy, right?
Yeah.
And it's not planned economy here still. So I understand what you mean, but it's exaggeration, what you're saying. I mean...
May I ask you a question? What I mean, well, actually, I'd like to clarify. What I mean, planned economy, it's not when you go to a store, let's say Peterочка. No one calls from Moscow and says, set this price. No. But Elvira Nabiulina should have increased the key interest rate from 21 to 23, perhaps even to 24, to keep inflation under control. That would be market economy. Instead, she got a call at the last minute, and she kept the interest rate despite all the economic rules. Okay, she kept it at 21. This is what I call the planned economy. Big macroeconomic decisions are made by politicians now, not by the economists. That's what I mean, planned economy.
Yeah, it's been happening for long, not only in Russia, by the way, but that's still not planned economy. There's still market. I mean, people still buy and sell and all this kind of stuff. But yeah, the influence on major production, of course, is huge by the state. Of course, nobody is debating this. And regarding Russian collapse in 2025,
hybrid economy. I will say hybrid economy, not planned. I agree with you. I see where you're coming from. And you're right. It's not 100% planned. In the USSR, it was 100% planned. But my point is, please understand, I think that, I know that all macroeconomic decisions made at the very top by the Ministry of Economic Development, Central Bank, Ministry of Finance, they're influenced by the politicians, by the president perhaps and his aides or whatever. So that's what I mean, planned, and that
I just
influences
don't know which
everything.
Actually, like you are talking like about something, like I don't know, about libertarian paradise when nobody is controlling economy and state doesn't influence the economy. I'm not sure just which country actually falls under this category of your understanding of market economy right now. Like,
Russia before Putin.
Maybe
Russia
Argentina?
before Putin. Russia before Putin. Russia until 2008.
They were still governmental monopolies that controlled like the major production in Russia. You know about this.
Natasha,
it was still
sorry,
controlled by the state.
If I can put like a different example, for example, European Central Bank, Natasha, is not controlled by the government. So
exactly,
it's like if we needed to increase the interest rate, the Italian government can be pissed off, but we cannot disagree. Also, Federal Reserve doesn't transfer like completely to, let's say, to the US government, because they had like for example, in European Central Bank had like the goal to maintain the inflation low. This is historically because Germany is afraid of high inflation for what is happening after the Weimar Republic and before the Second World War. But if I can agree with Konstantin, it's only that everybody was expecting that Nabulina was increasing the interest rate to 23%. When you don't increase the like I asked to my, let's say, economical friends, and they said to me that it's like a symptom that they don't believe anymore that the economy can be, let's say, cooled by the interest rate. So let's left it to what is happening. However, we cannot control. This is like a symptom of an economy that a little bit it's not controllable anymore from the Russian central bank. But you can see in confrontation with Europe. Europe now the inflation is very low. We are not, let's say, in amazing state of economy if you compare before of what happened in the war, but the only state that I think it's with a better situation, it could be, for example, US. But China is not performing very good. There is a lot of data that it's not interesting now, but it will be soon that the demography is declining in China. So in 10, 20 years, they will not be able to maintain this type of economy, let's say, grow. If I can give you, I have some questions from the public also.
Can I just add a couple
Okay,
things? Natasha, I don't want to argue. I respect your opinion and point of view. That's fine. I have my own. It's just I would like to add that I've heard that before many times. Well, Russia does that, but other countries also do that. And they probably do. And the economy is also hybrid in other countries to some extent, okay? It's never black and white. It's always shades of gray. But I talk about Russia only. I don't care what happens in other countries, okay? That's my area expertise. That's my country. I care what happens in Russia. I don't care what happens in the United States, in Europe, in anywhere. I am Russian, and I care about that. That's all. I don't even want to compare. I just want Russia to have strong, nice economy, to be peaceful, loving, respected, and all of that. That's all.
Aren't we all? My God.
I know.
I just why I brought this up. It's not just because others look at others. No, that's not the point. It's just connecting to this your argument that Russian economy is going to collapse this year. So I don't agree on that, because I've been hearing a lot of opinions since the beginning of war, and we hear it since the beginning of war it's going to collapse, and it's not collapsing.
What is
And
collapse?
there are
What do you think is collapse?
There are just a second, let me finish, and you will answer to me. There are the countries where also the same thing, like the government basically controls central bank, like Turkey, that. But the difference with Turkey is that they have foreign investments, unlike Russia. I agree with that. So we hear a lot of opinions that it's going to collapse, and I hear it a lot from economists, from the best Carnegie specialists in economy, and it's still not collapsing. You see, nothing is happening. It's going on. As I said, we can see the results of that is going bad, but it's not collapsing. That's the point.
Can I ask you a question? What do you think is collapse, in your opinion?
Collapse, I don't know, like how it was in the collapse of Soviet Union, right? Like when you wake up and there's nothing in the country, like nothing can work, nothing. You can't, like, inflation is so much, hyperinflation is insane that you can't buy it literally. Like if there's still something in shows, but you can't buy it, right? Production stops, logistics stops. That's collapse for me.
But why would it happen? It's not going to happen. In the Soviet Union, everything worked, kept on working. It's just things got so much worse in terms of living conditions. The rules of the economy changed, and people started really surviving. They went into a survival mode. But everything, the steel power plants giving energy, there were still factories producing things. There were still
Yeah, but there was
farms,
nothing in
growing
shops.
things.
You
Those
remember, 80s?
no. In the USSR was nothing in shops. When the USSR collapsed, all of a sudden, boom, the Turkish came in and imported everything. I
But
remember
people didn't have money to pay
1991,
for it.
Well, we lived. I mean, that was the classic situation. No, I'm not gonna stop drinking vodka. I'm not gonna drink less. You're gonna eat less. And that we started eating less, but it lasted for like 3-4 years perhaps. In 96, I remember things were actually pretty darn well. Okay, everyone, you couldn't compare to the USSR. We lived so much better in 95 already, 96. So it was not, in my eyes, it was not collapse. It was a great time, full of
No,
opportunities.
but there
Yes,
was
it was
collapse.
tough.
And then, of course, they figure out how to get out of it. And then, of course, the economy start moving. But there was collapse, right?
I'm not saying that Russian economy is going to collapse and stop, because collapse is we die and nothing there. Okay, that in my eyes is collapse. What I am forecasting is inflation is going to be in double digits. The exchange rate is going to be much higher. Russian ruble is going to be devalued greatly. There will be troubles in utilities. There will be breakdowns and nothing to replace it with. There will be rise of crime. That's what I think that's going to happen. But I'm not saying that it's just going to stop. And people are going to live such harder lives. That's my understanding of what's going to happen in 2025.
No,
But
so
I
it's
still
not,
think
it's not
everyone's
collapse.
going to be living.
It's still not collapse. It's like it's deterioration, probably. Like what's going on? It's going on, and it's gonna continue. Just gonna be worse, but not
It's
really
going to
collapse.
intensify. It's going to intensify. Yes,
Yeah,
that's
I
right.
agree.
So that's what my forecast.
Konstantin and Natasha, I want to give you. Konstantin already know this thing, but let me say the scene, but not the sinner. So let's say that I had someone that give me some wisdom. So from Russia, Natasha, so also you know. Let's say that I have a friend that work like for a Russian state-controlled company, very big. And what happened, it was like at the end of last year, let's say that the average salary of this town in Russia, it's about $400. Let's say like this. It's not Moscow, it's not Peter, another one. And this guy is working like in a very big company, Russian company, about oil and gas. And 40% of salary, let's say that was about $3,000. So it's big for Russia. For this city, it's about 6 times the average salary. It was about benefits. So 40% of the salary. What was like the news from, let's say, the company in October, November, it was that from January, all the benefit finished. So technically, it was a decurtation of minus 40% of the salary of high level. So first red flag. Second red flag from outside Russia. Konstantin, you don't know this. So it was from Belarus. Let's say that I have a friend of a friend that said to me that is working for an IT company, very big one, that works with a lot of countries, because for who doesn't know about Belarus, there is a lot of outsourcing in IT. Belarus, there is huge amount of IT. So they're starting to lack of clients. So this foreign clients disappeared. Very big IT company in Belarus. So the problem is that the time that was, let's say, available to make a deal with that type of resources that was before, it's finishing. So Natasha, probably what Konstantin said, that with the saved money of before, it was able to maintain the economy at that state for that time. But now it's like erasing and erasing every month, and we are arriving to the result that is not working anymore.
Okay.
So
It's recession. Yeah, but because there's war, right, going on, of course, and we are cut from the rest of the world. There's sanctions and everything, but it's not collapse, full collapse. And also this argument, like I have a friend, it's like I have a friend too. I can tell you other things. Like some of my friends.
Natasha,
Just a
let's
second. Just a second.
let's say strictly friends, but let's say also,
It's not
but
valid. I
I don't
can
want to know.
tell you a lot of things. Also, I have different kinds of friends, and I have different knowledge about that. And while some are getting a lot of money and a lot of clients, others are losing, like my brother, for example, because they increased high rate and they can't build any more buildings, right? Because they can't take credits right now for building. So basically, construction sphere is like they stopped. But then you look at others, and others, like some IT guys who work in cybersecurity, suddenly start to get a lot of money, and other men who go to war get insanely high salaries. Like I know few people who just left the war to earn, and they get all this money. So it depends. Like that's not it's not showing you really like, oh, I have a friend. Okay, but that's not an argument.
No, Natasha, what I was trying to saying is that for sure, IT Konstantin can agree with me. When you reduce like the working force and you have less people, you need to overpay them, or they will live like abroad. So it's very easy. The other thing about the war is that now the economy is overheated as a war economy. So you cannot compare people that are working, let's say, working in war for the rest of the population, because now you created, like, let's say, one guy that is, I don't know, paid $3,000 on the war, and someone that stay at home and 300, but the average it's not 1,500.
Yeah, I
So
agree.
and there is a big chance that this guy is not returning back home. So it's
I actually agree with
it's
Natasha.
complicated.
Russia is a large country, and it's the richest country in the world in terms of resources. Okay, and right now there are two economies in Russia. One is war economy, everything that is connected to the war, and then the rest is civic economy. Civic economy has fallen by. It's really hard to give an estimate. My estimate is about from 30 to 40%. That is huge. Okay, and then the war economy has grown tremendously. And then everyone who's involved with the war economy is living tremendously right now, having fantastic. I went to Dubai once. I saw Russians just they burning money left and right. Okay, so you're right. There are quite a few people who are unfortunately benefiting from war. Not too many. I estimate from 10 to 15 million people like that. And it's like anywhere at any time. Let's say crisis in America in 2008. There were most people lost lots of money, lost their houses and so forth, and very few benefited, made so much from it. Same thing in the Great Depression. Few people made lots of money, and the rest were just, you know, collapsed. But that wasn't also collapse; it was a depression. And then same thing in 91. A lot of people made money, and a lot of people, just lost everything. So you're right. What Stefanos was saying, I actually confirmed. Okay, he told me about this cut in salaries. That is happening right now in this very large company, and moreover, there has been layoffs. They started in January. Sber today fired 40 people of its IT center or department or whatever. Gazprom is firing until end of February 1,500 people. Okay, there are estimates that by May there will be about 15,000 coal miners out of the job. Okay, and that's lots of companies. This is what I call, and you're right, it's not collapse, but this is the decline, catastrophic decline. I call it the economic tsunami. Okay, that's everyone starts feeling this economic disaster that is happening in Russia, okay? And then just it comes down to one thing: people will be eating less. And I'm speaking figuratively. They will drive cheaper cars. Perhaps they will switch to buses. Perhaps they will walk. They will definitely buy cheaper clothing. They will not go on vacations anymore. And it's going to be worse and worse. And it's going to be for decades in Russia. Because once the war stops, nothing will go back. The decline will simply slow down, perhaps, if Russia is lucky, okay? But everything else will just, the trend, oil and gas is not needed any longer from Russia. This is it. This is all you need to know. No one is going to buy it any longer. Because long-term contracts are signed with other suppliers from Morocco, from Cyprus, from the United States, or whatever. They won economically. They're making more money. Russians have lost. Okay, not people, but the rulers, and then people are going to suffer because rulers are gonna go very soon. 1 year, 2 years. All these people, Nabiulina, Putin, Sechin, and they're gonna be gone very soon. Perhaps 3 years or whatever, but people will stay and people will be suffering for a very long time. And that's a tragedy.
If I can put like some question like from the public, just
Sure,
okay.
sure.
Okay, this is one. What about Russian cooperation with China? It's more visible now in economics, like your point of view, and Natasha maybe seeing cars.
Can I ask
let's
a question?
change.
What cooperation with China? Just give me one example.
The only things that I saw the changes, but I think Natasha can confirm, at least in Moscow, it's like the quantity of Chinese car in the market now.
China's what?
I mean,
Cars.
it's no the Chinese cars.
Is that?
No, it's only like about like. But what I saw also from today from Peter Zayan video, it's very interesting because Russia was. What the Chinese needed to flood the market with extra production.
Yep.
So it's like because we didn't buy anymore, so everything was flowed in China, like from China to Russia.
Exactly.
So this is the only cooperation that I'm saying, because like China and India were buying oil and gas, but at super cheap price. So,
and buying and selling cars at super high price. This is perfect. Okay, I see that Kate said something like cars. Okay.
Yeah, cars are like everywhere, literally. It's true.
But wait a second. Do you call that cooperation? Let's find the terms. And Natasha, again, you're absolutely right. Collapse is a very hard word, and that shouldn't be used. Okay. Where is cooperation? I would
I
see
don't know.
cooperation between China and Russia if Chinese companies would say, okay, you know what? We like Russian market. We plan long-term presence, and we move into Russia, and we build our factories in Russia, just like all Western companies, Mercedes, BMW, Fiat, all of the. They did that, okay? Ford, but then they left. If the Chinese moved in and started building factories, and then would start producing cars, Chinese cars, using Chinese technology, but using buying Russian metal, using Russian labor, Russian materials, I call it cooperation. What Chinese have done, they have promised at first, and then they announced plans of building factories, and then they canceled every single project, okay? There's not one Chinese factory. They manufacture in China. They buy cheap oil. They buy cheap metal from Russia. They add value in China that adds to the Chinese economy. They use Chinese labor only, okay? They use Chinese technology, equipment, and they sell their cars to Russia at an incredibly high price. Okay?
Wait.
They
But
charge
still,
an arm and a
factories
leg.
are working. There were. Remember, we were talking about this last time. Like there were factories of companies that left, but factories are still here. And if even Chinese buy them, they still produce it here.
No, they don't. They don't produce the Chinese cars. What they do is they some of the companies, not too many, but they bought the factories, and not the factories, but some facilities. Okay, what they do is they produce the car in China. They disassemble a few parts, like let's say wheels, steering wheel, I don't know, something else, and then they ship it into the factory in Russia, into warehouse. They put the wheels in, and they say, well, we don't have to pay tax, customs tax, because it's made in Russia. That's a ripoff. That's not a cooperation, okay? I know this well because I monitor this situation. Like Moskvich, the car comes assembled to Moscow, and they just put the label on Moskvich. That's a Chinese car, Hyun Moon, something like that, you know. But they put a label, and it becomes miracle. It becomes a car produced in Russia, and the Chinese don't have to pay the customs tax into Russian budget, and they charge a lot of money for this car. Okay, that's not cooperation.
Konstantin, it's the same as we said in advance. It's the same strategy that Chinese do also in Italy. If you are curious, there is a brand that is called DR Automotives. Very important parts, as Konstantin said, and they change maybe the logo or some parts in Italy to declare made in Italy, but it's not. If people are curious, there is the same case study in Brazil, because I will be there in 2 months in Bahia, in Camaçari. BYD, Build Your Dreams, that is the biggest, let's say, Chinese electrical car, bought like a closed factory of Ford next to Salvador. And but they tried in agreement with Brazil to start the production. Check what happened. They had to close the factory because they used the same production system on China. So the workers start to be in riots because it was considered slavery in Brazil. So it's very complicated to export the Chinese system outside China, maybe with trade unions or something that doesn't exist.
I don't want to compare Brazil and Russia. I want Russia and Russia. Before the war, before the whole, this mess happened, Russian government actually placed requirements onto foreign manufacturers. You want to come into Russia and sell your cars? Fine, you're welcome. And you can do as Chinese do for, let's say, 3 or 5 years. It's called not production, but assembling, okay? Assembly production. But then you must localize your production within, let's say, 5 to 10 years. And all companies who were present in Russia, Volkswagen, Mercedes, BMW, I think Ford factory, Toyota, Nissan, they localized. They started producing using Russian, materials, metals, labor was 100% Russian. And there were plenty of manufacturing facilities that the Chinese bought for peanuts, right? And but there was a requirement, and that actually was benefiting Russian economy. And the Chinese came in, and they, again, in my eyes, it's not cooperation with China. Perhaps there is in some industries. It's just I have not heard of one case. That's why I'm asking everyone who's asking question. Please give me one example of real cooperation with the Chinese. I would like to learn.
Let me put another question. Russia was supposed to collapse in the first months of war. 3 years later, Russia is still there. Blah blah blah. Russia is advancing in Donbass.
That's a great question.
We discussed it already.
Great question. Yes, we discussed it. What is the collapse? Do they expect Russia to cease to exist? People to die because of starvation? That's not going to happen. Okay, but in my eyes, what has happened now is a pretty darn good collapse. Russia has lost all geopolitical power. Russia has become a bunch of clowns that everyone loves. Even in Uzbekistan, they laugh at Russia. Never happened before, okay? Russia has lost 2 bread-making revenues. that is oil and gas exports. That has served Russia well since 70s. Okay, Russia has lost pretty much all civic industries. They are not there any longer. Okay, what else? Look at the map of Donbass. I'm looking at the map. So what? You can steal as much land as you want, but that, and then what?
Let me add this one. What does it mean when you say Russia will collapse? Do you believe that will stop the war somehow?
We discussed it already.
This question is for
Let's
before
put,
we clarify it, actually.
Yeah. But let's put like do you think that there are chance that Trump election simply represent a shift in US policy towards America centrism and isolationism?
What shift? America is a center of the world, and it cannot be isolated because it controls so much. Well, America makes policies for pretty much all the countries. It influences countries, and Russia is not talking about with Ukraine about stopping the war. It's talking to the United States. That's called centrism. Okay, that's how powerful the USA is, and that's the only country Putin wants to talk about the peace, not China, not Canada, not Brazil, but the United States, plain and simple. Okay, not Europe. That's centrism. To me, that's pretty, that's already the centrism. Isolationism, American economy depends on other countries. I don't see any isolationism happening. And Natasha, what do you think? I don't know. Perhaps you have a different opinion.
No, I don't know really. I'm not a specialist in American foreign policy, but I don't think that something was gonna change as well. The US is still the center of the world. It's true. Putin is only speaking with Trump, right? Not with I don't know who's ruling the European Union right now. So it's true, and I don't think like they are gonna go into isolationism because wars are popping up everywhere, and they feel like it's in their it's a core idea for America, I think, like to go and fix something, to be this policeman that control the world and save democracies all over the world, or whatever they're gonna put right now. But it's their national idea. I don't think they're gonna something's gonna change with Trump, let's say, on this question.
Natasha, if I can add something about like the last declaration of Trump, also a matter that it's a little bit connect to me because I'm also working in Panama, and it's very interesting the switch that was changed about Panama Canal, because when Trump was talking about Panama, because nobody, I think a lot of people don't remember that Panama was occupied from 1989 to 1999 by US Army. But a lot of people, let's say, doesn't remember. So the main thing was that after that, technically, Panama is not an army anymore. We don't have it. And but there is a huge amount of investment from Chinese company, because let's say to try to export as more as possible, you need to have a little bit of, let's say, control of Panama and Suez. And if you go, let's say, in the last, I'm going in Panama like twice or 3 times a year from 2021, you can see that there is like a huge quantity of Chinese investment, especially in the canal. And probably this thing is starting to, let's say, put some question points from the US, let's say, elite. You have to know that Trump had also like some personal deals in Panama, because there is still a Trump Tower. Now It's not called anymore Trump Tower because they made like a fight with like his partner. It's called talk, but there is a huge amount of investment also of US. So I think in the next 2-3 years, especially in the first 2 years of the mandate of Trump, there will be a huge debate and fight, but not with Russia, but between the two powers, like China and US. Russia, it's I don't know. It's technically it was relevant more for European Union than for US. But now also about energy import, it's not relevant anymore for us. So this is why, for me, it's a pity more for the Russian people than for the Russian government, because it's degrading like the quality of life that was increased a lot if we compare from 1991 to before the war.
Agreed. Just couple topics from my side. People forget that it's always Russia negotiates with the United States and so forth. Putin has made a point many times. He says we want the world to be a multi-center place where there are different countries, different powers. It is multipolar, yeah. It is multipolar, but there's not Russia in it. It's China in the United States. And the United States dominated for 20 years or so after the breakdown of the USSR. But China has become so big, it wants to step into the shoes of the USSR. And that's what actually Xi wants. He wants to be treated equally to the America. And China is a power to be, reckoned with. And China is using Russia in a geopolitical game because Russia is too dependent on China now, and it cannot survive without China. It just gets everything from China, right? So I am sure that there will be some kind of high-level negotiations between the United States and China will just use Russia as a card. It's gonna just, in poker, you drop the card, as one of your cards, and that's what the role of Russia is. Okay, it's definitely not going to be a country in a multipolar world, and it's going to be a colony of China.
If the US will let this to happen, we don't know.
If the US will let Russia, like, what exactly happened?
I mean, of course, the main enemy for Americans is China. It's pretty visible, and I think for Trump mostly, like his actually focuses mostly on China than on Russia. He doesn't see Russia as enemy more than he sees China, and it would make sense more to cooperate with Russia instead of making it as an enemy. But for this, he needs to stop the war that is going on.
The United States has never considered Russia an enemy. I mean, so why would it be an enemy of America? And I think America does not have any enemies whatsoever. It competes
America
with China.
Doesn't have any enemies, of course.
No, it doesn't. It has competitors. That's different.
Yeah, let's use another language. Yes, let's like competitor. Russia is not they don't see Russia as a huge competitor, let's say, as China is. China is a threat for them on this on the market.
But the problem, Natasha, about China, let's use like these last minutes to close it. It's very interesting about the analysis of Peter Zion that did like the last 2 days. That probably the strategy of the Trump administration will be to reindustrialize US, because they cannot afford anymore like to have China as the factory of the war, because we don't understand if China will be capable of maintaining this state of growth in the next 5-10 years, not 1 million years. So imagine that there is somehow one type of collapse of China's economy. Could happen, demography or whatever. All the rest of the world will not work anymore, because we don't have anymore the factory of the war that is working. But for doing this, it's very interesting because I didn't figure it out. a stupid thing that we don't have like developed in the last 10-15 years, the electric grid. We can see it also what happened in California. They said that only for Texas to maintain the state of growth that is connected to Elon Musk, SpaceX, and everything that is connected, they need to increase minimum 50% the electrical grid in the next 5 years. It is huge. So what we are not seeing is that probably who is planning like the geopolitics of the world are not watching what is happening in Ukraine because it's too small. So it's, I don't know, let's say it could go stop or whatever, but nothing will change this thing that the West delegated to China to be, let's say, the factory of the world. And it seems that it's not working anymore. So also the steel production, stainless steel, everything that we delegate. I will tell you the last thing, and then we can close with you and Kostantin and Natasha. My city, that is Brescia, which is next to Milan, it was, let's say, known worldwide for the capital of steel production of the world. Then they see that it was cheaper to like delegate to China. Now a lot of production is delegated to Turkey because the working force it's less expensive. So they delegate to Turkey, and the Turkish, what they did, they took our technology and they create their iron mills there. So now we are depending from them. The biggest steel factory in Europe, there were two. One that was in Italy, in southern Italy, in Ilva of Taranto, and the second one that is like the Azovstal in Mariupol, but it's not working for sure. So there is this condition where like we are completely depending from other countries that are not completely stable, like Turkey or China. We don't know what could happen. So probably what could be fast in the next 2 years is that one strategy to return back. I'm like trying to learn this thing from Trump. Like we need to return the work back to US. But maybe it's like something said under the carpet to explain this thing, to reindustrialize US and maybe also Europe. I don't know. So just like Konstantin and Natasha, just to close the stream, if you want to say something. Konstantin is shocked.
He thinks what to say. Let's say something good.
Let's say something.
Let's say something good.
All right. I would like to say that I'm very glad to speak to Natasha again. I remember Natasha from before the war, when we had this wonderful community of Russian English-speaking YouTubers. It was great. I missed that. Remember we had this was
Zangief.
that thing. No. They banned that thing in Russia recently. Communication platform. Discord. Yeah, we had the Discord channel. It was Vasya and Sergey and everyone else. That was good time. You know, I missed that. I'm good to see you. I'm good to see you looking great. You know, I hope that all is well. I hope that the health issues will work out. Everyone will be well. Let's continue talking. It's always intellectually pleasing, and Stefan is always a star. You know, thank you. Fantastic to be here. To say something good, I remember there was a crisis in Russia, a very bad economic crisis, and we didn't know what's going to happen the following year. And I remember there was a party in Rostov, and all like business people were there. And one guy who owned at the time a largest bank in Rostov, he came out and he said, you know, what will, I forgot what year it was, but what will the next year bring us? He said, well, we'll be there. It's going to be us living and breathing, and it's going to be our families with us. It's going to be our children and grandchildren, and, you know, we'll be laughing, and then we'll be eating, we'll be sleeping and spending time with our families and so forth. So whatever is happening in Russia, here in Tashkent, us Russians, 40,000 of us, we are having it worse economically. But still, it's going to be okay. We will live, and one day we will die. Hopefully not in 2025. So that's that's the best I can do for saying something nice.
You did well, actually.
we need finally to meet, like, to prepare this shashlik in live,
not
only like
with
in
all
YouTube.
my respect, not in Russia. Why don't we go to Brescia or Como?
Yeah, I mean, you are my guest anytime that you want, all of you. So so we can
I would
organize
wish that
something
we
on
would
LinkedIn.
meet in Russia eventually, but not under this regime, let's call it. Like, when everything will be over,
Okay.
we finally will live normally.
Me too.
For sure. I
That's
mean,
a good wish.
I missed whoever to come, because it was already like from the end of it was January 2022 that it was last time that I was there. So let's hope that it will be a good year. So
Yes.
thank you both, like to be here. So thanks to everybody that was watching the stream. So I hope that we will start to make some dialogues with some good speaker, like to share good things. And see you next time.
Thank you.
Thank you. I was happy to